Due to Detroit's industrial boom between 1900 and 1930, the Motor City's population rose at unprecedented rates from just 285,000 in 1900 to over 1.5 million 3 decades later. Detroit wasn't just huge manufacturing companies like General Motors and Dodge. There were hundreds of smaller parts companies, tool and die shops, and small-scale operations around the city. This, paired with a massive influx of working Detroiters, opened the market for dozens of small banks to serve city residents and small businesses. With workers making more than ever before, banks were a place to open your first savings account, get a home loan, or secure financing for your family's first car after building them all day on the assembly line. Banking was also lightly regulated in this era, allowing for huge growth in the financial sector. Like other industries in Detroit, many businesses were tailored to the ethnic group of the neighborhood. There were banks started by and catering to German, Italian, and Polish Detroiters. Despite operating at a smaller scale than today, these banks still competed for business in the neighborhood. One aspect of this competition was the architecture of your bank branch. Detroit's financial institutions, like their cars, were built tough, as bank robberies were fairly common in this era and protection from fire was essential. Additionally, these strong-looking structures were meant to look powerful and timeless, as you were more likely to trust a bank if it looked like your money was safe there. Typically, banks would pay an architecture for plans for one structure and build it a dozen times over, leading to multiple near-identical banks being built across Detroit. Though not as well known today, Detroit had dozens of car companies at this time too. As time went on and financial turmoil hit smaller companies, many of them went under or were purchased by the bigger auto manufacturers. Similarly, many of Detroit's banks merged, were acquired, and folded when times got tough. When the Great Depression hit America, Detroit was struck harder than most of the country. The entire city was wrapped up in the auto industry, and cars were selling at a much slower rate, causing mass layoffs at the larger automakers, their suppliers, and small repair shops. With less money coming in from their clients, banks were hit hard too. With less cash flow, many of Detroit's financial institutions went under. Once the banks were gone, these sturdy structures needed to be put to use, as they were often located in dense neighborhoods and were costly to demolish. In my research, I found that the variety with which these structures have been used for since is unparalleled compared to all other kinds of commercial buildings, at least that I found. After the onset of World War II, Walter Reuther of the United Automobile Workers strongly advocated for the conversion of Detroit's automobile factories to wartime production, transitioning from car parts to airplane, tank, and other war machine uses. The change wasn't just felt at the top. Many of these small bank buildings were used to manufacture parts, as tool and die shops, or for other things related to the war effort. After the Allies claimed victory, some of the bank buildings that had closed during the Depression remained in use as machine shops, some reopened as banks, and some opened as other businesses. By the 1950s, it wasn't uncommon for churches to occupy bank buildings. Detroit's black congregations often started small, meeting in homes, storefronts, or outside. As congregations grew, the need for dedicated spaces for worship rose, and old bank buildings were often available for low prices or cheap rent. Of all the small bank buildings I've researched in Detroit so far, almost all were once used by a black parish. Some historic preservationists stigmatize churches for not maintaining their historic properties in the modern era, and while that does sometimes occur, I think this is an incorrect assumption. Many of Detroit's black churches purchased these structures when white Detroiters were fleeing the city in the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, sinking time and money into the buildings themselves and the neighborhood surrounding them. These churches, often not affiliated with a larger church body, were similar to the banks that predated them. They became neighborhood institutions, offering Detroiters a place to go when community centers closed, parks were allowed to decay, and after-school programming lost funding. Some even offered credit unions. Many of the bank churches in Detroit have existed since the 1960s or 1970s, often lasting longer than the original banking institution that built the structure. The bank building in this video, a People's State Bank branch, was designed by Hans Gerke and was completed by 1925. It later became the People's Wayne County Bank, which didn't survive the Depression. Sale ads in the paper in 1937 and 1952 indicate turnover here, with the latter advertisement stating that it was set up for a bank but could be used by a distributor or light manufacturing company. 700 miles away, the United Church of God in Christ was incorporated on August 13, 1951, in North Little Rock, Arkansas. In April 1976, the church was officially moved to Detroit, Michigan. The congregation utilized 5047 Chene Street as their place of worship, eventually becoming affiliated with Faithway United House of God and Faithway United Ministries. A 1979 image from the Burton Historical Collection shows United Church of God in Christ's signage on the structure, including the cross coming off the corner, which is still present today. There was still a building next to the bank and homes behind it, all of which are now gone. Without churches like Faithway United Ministries, structures like this wouldn't be here. Detroit has lost over 1.2 million residents since its historic peak in 1950, and the structures that weren't purchased by those who stayed or moved into the city amidst the turmoil have long since been demolished. Despite holding on for decades, many of these parishes' congregations are aging and struggling to maintain numbers and their buildings. Even with recent increases in population within the city limits, many of these churches are dying. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth because these buildings are poised to be redeveloped into a new, more stable Detroit, but the people who ensured that they made it this far won't be here to see the structure they so lovingly maintained flourish again. Living in Detroit is full of stories like these, and it's easy to get caught up in them if you're paying attention. Places like this matter, and so do the people who have ensured their survival. Chene Street used to have many bank buildings, but this is the last one still standing apart from a modern atrocity closer to the highway that was last used as a coney. I can only imagine what it was like to walk down Chene Street when Poletown East's population was at its height. In 50 years, folks might say the same thing about right now. It makes me wonder what it will look like in a half century. What do you think? If you enjoyed this video, please throw a like on the video, drop a comment down below about what you think of Detroit's bank buildings, and subscribe to the channel for a new video every Friday. If you want to support the channel, you can look in the description below to buy a t-shirt that I've designed or get a print from my print store. If there's a building you think I should do a video on, drop a comment down below about that too. Until next time, this building matters.